Butterflies don't choose to start off as cocoons. They don't choose when they come out of the cocoon. It's entirely up to nature, and it's entirely up to the time that it takes for things to change. And that was a little bit like my upbringing as well. And I'm so grateful to have a lot of other South Africans in the room who are on the same journey, but on different journeys, different sides of the road, different paths. When I was 18 and 1 month, when I was 18 and 1 month, on the 11th of February, 1990, I walked into the University of the Witwatersrand. I come out of 12 years of white apartheid separatist education that I did not know. I'd spent the last 5 years of my life in a boys only school, boarding school. I had no access to girls. I was terrified. And in residence, where I was, there was everyone. And I mean everyone. The people that I'd been taught to fear, the people that I had been taught were not part of my country. I was part of 1 in 8 in South Africa. In 1990, there were 5 million white people and 40 million South Africans. And for the first time in my life, I saw South Africa for what it really was. I was breaking out of my cocoon, a cocoon of ignorance and darkness and stuff that I just did not know. There were even girls there, which was amazing. I remember walking into that residence, and the significance of that date is never lost to me, because the 11th of February 1990 was the day that Nelson Mandela was released from jail. So imagine walking into a student politics environment with every skin color, every sexuality, every gender excited about this event, about a man that I had been taught was a terrorist and would probably send people to kill me in my bed. When I was 15 in boarding school, in a boys-only boarding school, when I was 15, we were so terrified that we were told to go down to the petrol station and buy pangas, machetes, 15-year-old boys, and patrol the grounds at nighttime in case they came to kill us. And I had to live in a residence full of the people that I thought of this my whole life. My first day there, I broke out of my cocoon. I saw the light for the first time, and I started beating my wings as a butterfly. And each person I met, and each story that I heard, and each time that I took the time and I took the opportunity to find out who people were, not what they were, not box. Did they tick? Not box. Did somebody else tick for them? I beat my wings harder and faster. And you know what the amazing thing is about the butterfly effect? We all know the chaos theory, right? Every time a butterfly beats its wings across the world, there's a tornado or an amazing thing happens. And so too in our lives. Every time we beat our wings, an amazing thing happens later on in life. And I want to share some of those wing beats with you. The first week in residence at Wits, surrounded by people that I did not know, I was scared. I was very, very lonely. I was out of my comfort zone for the first time out of my cocoon. And I didn't engage with a lot of people at all. And I was in the pub. We had a pub on residence. That was the other thing. There were girls and there was a pub on residence. This was awesome. We had a pub on residence and they would have nightly parties. And I went along to the pub one evening and I was sitting just by myself. And this young man came up to me and he said, "You look so lonely. Are you okay?" And I said, "Actually, I'm not, because I'm so out of my comfort zone and I don't know what to do." And he said, "I'm exactly the same." He said, "I've never been in a situation like this." So we got chatting. And the young man, I'll never forget him, Peter Delamini, was a young black guy from Soweto the place where all the crime was and all the political activism, according to the newspapers of the day. And he had grown up, he's the same age as me, 18 years old, first year in university. He had grown up in a situation where he had to study by candlelight at night because in a large part of Soweto, there's no electricity, there's no running water. His family would walk for an hour and a half every morning to go and fetch water from the one tap that was serving, I don't know, 100,000 people, whatever it was. And this is the ecosystem that he had grown up in. And here he was, a double degree student, starting out for the very first time, also getting access to everything that had been denied him his whole life. And he became my first friend. And he said to me, and I'll never forget this, and this was the first beat of my wings, "This must be so weird for you." And I said, "Peter, you have no bloody idea." I said, "There are girls here." I lost contact with Peter after I left. I was only in university for a year. I failed everything because some of you will have heard the story before. I went into the University of Life. I forgot about everything that I was there to study, and I found the important things that I had to learn, which is about people. A month later, so this would have been March, I joined various student societies, and one of them was called the Student Community Action Group, SCAG, the worst name in the world. I mean, who the hell would want to join a group called SCAG? But I did, because there were girls, and there were cute girls in SCAG, and I was 18. And SCAG was a group that would go into Soweto on the weekends and help the community. We'd go and rebuild, we'd do bits and pieces and just be there. Mostly white students, because that was the type of people that were going into the community to try and make a difference. We weren't people who were living there. And the one weekend that we were there, and by the way, every single time we went in there, we were welcomed with open arms and just absolutely made to feel at home, brought into people's homes, given glasses of water and made tea on the fire outside, water that had to walk an hour and a half to go and fetch. Absolutely amazing experience. And the one weekend that we were there, we got a notice from someone. Someone came running to us and said, "Oh, you must come really, really quickly." We thought, what the hell is going on? And I said, no, come. So we followed this guy, and he took us maybe about 20 minutes. We thought there was trouble because, you know, that's what we come to expect and told to expect in Soweto. And he took us around and up to this really, really nice house. So Soweto is largely, you know, shanty towns, and but there was a nice brick house, and he said, "Madiba's here." Madiba, Nelson Mandela. So Mandela had heard that we were in Soweto and had asked for us to come and meet him. It's hard to break out of a cocoon, and it's hard to see the light and to change immediately. And my first thought, I'll be absolutely honest, was, oh God, this is a guy that for 27 years I've been told was a terrorist and was sending people to murder me in my bed. What's going to be his reaction to young white people in Soweto? And I have to tell you, this was the second biggest wing beat in my life. He came to us, he saw us, he came to us individually and spoke to us and said, "What's your name?" He shook our hands and he said, "Thank you so much for being here." He said, "Together, we are going to build the new South Africa." And it immediately touched me, because here was a man who had every right in the world to be angry, every right in the world to want revenge, every right in the world to want to take everything that had been denied him for 27 years in jail and longer, his whole lifetime. And all he wanted was peace and forgiveness and to help build a new South Africa. The second big moment in my life. So I got through university. Well, I got out of university. I didn't pass anything and came on in life. And something that has really stayed with me from Peter Levine and Nelson Mandela was that they came to me. You know, they saw me as a lonely person, as somebody who was out of my comfort zone, who was in a brand new world, a world that had been hidden from me for 18 years. And they came to me and took the time and effort to learn who I was. They didn't see me for what I was. They didn't, and this, I know that the irony of this next statement, they didn't look at the color of my skin and judge me. But they took the time to learn who I was. The butterfly effect. Every time a butterfly beats its wings, it changes something later on in life. Throughout my life, I've taken that lesson forward, and I absolutely love knowing who people are. I take the time to sit down with them and understand not just, who they are today. I love knowing their heritage. I love knowing, who they identify as. I love knowing their languages and their stories and their cultures. It makes them so rich to me. Instead of just an image, it makes them a person. And I've also realized that that is absolutely a choice. And I also know that there's not just one cocoon in life, right? So as humans, we have the ability to be cocooned in a number of different ways. And those cocoons are there waiting for us to break out. The choice comes in when you are in a situation and you have that initial response and you have the choice to either get to know the person or to get to see the person and to make that judgment. I was at the District 70 Toastmasters conference yesterday, and I had the great pleasure of meeting Sabi Sengupta, who's the current World Championship of Public Speaking. He's a beautiful human. He's just the most generous and amazing and humorous and welcoming and warm guy. And he gave a speech last evening about being in the audience and helping. And he gave a story, which I'm going to use. So full credit to Sabi for this. There was once a very, very poor man, absolutely dirt poor, sitting in the village, and he had a bag of grain. That was the only food that he ever had, his entire lot of food. And he saw a rich man come through, dressed in gold from head to toe, gold dripping everywhere. The richest man he'd ever seen, the man that had absolutely everything. And he looked at him and thought, oh, I wish I had everything. And he watched the rich man come closer and closer. And eventually the rich man came up to him and said, I'm hungry. Have you got any food for me? And the poor man thought, what? This is a man that has absolutely everything. And he's come to me, a man who has absolutely nothing, and he wants some food. And he was a little bit angry and a little bit taken aback, but he couldn't deny him. So he took out one grain from the bag and gave it to the rich man. And the rich man took it and said, thank you very much, and walked away. And he was absolutely nonplussed, absolutely confused. What has just happened? Why would a man dressed in gold from top to toe need food from me, the poorest man on the street? And then he decided to look inside the bag so that he could count to see how many grains he had left. And he saw something. He saw a single grain of gold. And he realized that in giving, he had received something of even greater value. And then he thought, if only I'd given him all that I could, I would have received enough gold to be comfortable for the rest of our lives, for the rest of my life. And the message that Sabi had was, every situation, every instance, every interaction that you have a choice. You can choose to act in one way, or you can choose to act in an even better way. And what I'd love to leave you with today is a simple challenge. It's called the 5-second challenge. Because we can all take 5 seconds, right? Absolutely. And online as well. And the 5-second challenge is, when you meet someone, ask yourself, do I know them? Do I really know them? And if the answer isn't yes, I challenge you to get to know them. I challenge you to take the time and to sit down with them and get to know them. I have met some amazing people in my life. I have met, and as far as I'm concerned, absolutely enriched my life beyond any measure because I've taken the time to know people. I've got to meet people's families across the world, and I've shared their stories and I've heard their backgrounds. And this isn't about me growing, it's about them growing me and giving me the opportunity to grow. I've made mistakes, we all do. We're never perfect. And the great thing about humans is that we have the capacity to make mistakes. And if we didn't make mistakes, we would never grow. And if we kept on making mistakes and didn't grow, that would be a disaster as well. So the butterfly does not have the choice of being born in a cocoon. It does not have the choice of getting out of the cocoon. But the first time it does and beats its wings, it changes something forever. And that first month in February and March 1990 was me breaking out of my cocoon. What's your cocoon? Are you looking forward to seeing the light and spreading your wings and feeling the air as you beat your way into the future? Back to you, Haley.